Hello Sketchy friends, we are now on to day 3 of the 7-day urban sketching at home challenge, and in this day's challenge we are going to sketch houseplants, but you are welcome to substitute houseplants with garden plants if you're not a houseplant person. But I have some houseplants that have actually been going for a fair old while now. I have killed a lot in my time. This guy has got really tall, so we're really happy with this one. I think we've figured out the secret to not killing houseplants, but I don't want to be too rash. If you don't have a garden or houseplants or something like that, maybe just go and buy yourself a nice bunch of flowers and draw that. Something organic, something organic. So this is the other houseplant. This is Tashi's cameo for this video. She's always lurking around, a cheeky little face. I have this other houseplant in a skull, which I really love. I think it's really cool. I'm a little bit concerned about drawing that skull right now, but we'll see how it goes. And then I thought it would be fun to sketch this other houseplant I have, which I have to admit is fake. But I got so sick of killing houseplants, and I saw this one and I was like, this one actually looks relatively real, like as long as you don't look too hard. So I wanted to I've put it on the floor because I wanted to look down on it, because I wanted to play with like different viewpoints, different angles, and drawing things like small and then zooming into things. So that's what I had in my mind. Spoiler alert, this didn't come out quite as well, or it didn't meet my expectations. Let's just put it that way. And that happens, and it's okay. You know, you just roll with it, because every sketch that you do is certainly a learning opportunity. And I know I say that a lot, but it really is. And, you know, it's not horrible. It's just not what I had in mind when I sort of thought about, oh, I'll have these things like, you know, further away and then zoomed in and lots of different viewpoints and stuff. I just don't think I really met the brief in my in my head, but otherwise it's perfectly nice anyway, so it's fine. So I just want you to know that happens to all of us. We all have you know, sketches where we either love them or we feel lukewarm about them, or in fact we just really dislike them and wish we could rip them out of our sketchbook, you know. But the key is that the sketchbook isn't supposed to look perfect, and it's not supposed to be something that you can just pull out or use as a coffee table where everyone can come and admire every single beautiful page you've done. It's not the point. It really is your journey of learning how to sketch and also record your life as well. So that if you try and keep that in mind, and some pages, maybe just purposefully use them as, you know, practice pages, so that you've kind of not got that sort of perfect sketch on every page kind of thing, or you're not trying to make a perfect layout on every page. So, you know, try some like, I don't know, life drawing, or like boxes in perspective, or any of those kind of classic drawing sort of exercises or whatever. You'll probably find a million of them on YouTube. I'm doing a free thing at the moment called drawabox.com, which is all boxes in perspective and ellipses and that kind of thing, like real fundamental drawing stuff. I have been a bit slack with it, if I'm honest. I haven't got as far with it as I should have done, but it's completely free. And if you're really into more of the traditional and fundamental drawing stuff, then it might be something that you want to check out. I've basically avoided doing that kind of thing for at least 10 years. But now I'm like, oh, maybe I should actually learn some or try some more academic drawing stuff. Maybe, I don't know, I just find it really boring. But I was like, maybe it will help me get to another different level, like a further level. Anyway. So, you know, you could see that I've placed all this out in pencil first, not in any great detail, but just placement more or less, although I did go a bit further with the skull because that one scared me. But yeah, basic placement. I'm reasonably okay with how it's looking. And I've got these brushes recently from a brand called Fumui. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but there's these 4 lovely travel brushes. I do talk about them more on a video I've got called My Urban Sketching Kit for 2025, if you want to check that out. But they're great little brushes for a very reasonable price. I'll leave a link to them in the description below. They've got nice different shapes. So I'm using the dagger shape here, which I do find like a small dagger like this very, very versatile. As some of you guys will know, I use a Rosemary & Co 1/4 inch dagger brush and then a large round brush. And there's the 2 brushes I've pretty much used for the last several years. I just find it a very versatile type of brush. And I do like the travel brush format because it does help with keeping the bristles nice and stuff, and it's just easier to fold down into a small shape, and they're just easier to manage. So on the right hand side I did quite a bit of wet and wet there because I really like that with plants and organic matters. Really lean into the fact that you're doing leaves and stuff like that because it lends itself to a really nice loose way of doing things. I quite liked that sketch on the right. I think it's very graphic, very illustrative. The same with the plant next to it, actually. Again, unintentionally kind of drew them both at a similar scale, and I'm not sure that's really what I was after. I think if I'd really gone to town and planning this, I could have done it better, but I'm not. I really like the spontaneous approach to drawing. And again, this isn't supposed to be any kind of perfect, layout or whatever. This is just me sitting down at my dining room table and drawing some plants. That's what it is. That's what's going on here. So I can do my best, but also I just want to be I don't want a crazy planet so that it comes out amazingly perfectly. Because I also find that kind of boring as well. So I'd rather just sit down and start drawing and then just see what happens. I think that's more fun. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work as well as I would have liked it to. So I'm just, playing with the greens and using lighter greens and darker greens and a bit of wet and wet as well, and just letting the watercolor do its thing. For the skull there, I've actually used buff titanium, which I don't really use very much, but it is in my set. But I did think it was a good color for the skull. And then I'm just sort of using a light kind of Payne's gray there in the shadows. It could even be a light indigo, I'm not sure, one or the other, some kind of grayish color. And, I actually don't think the drawing of the skull's awful. I have definitely drawn worse skulls than that, so I don't think this one's too bad. And it's quite fun. I just really like the plant pot in its head. This little plant coming out. It just makes me smile. It's the small things, guys, small things. So, and then looking down on the fake Monstera plant, I really wanted to do large leaves in the background. Which, I think this was the part I wasn't sure about the most, but I just rolled with it anyway, using a big brush here, guys. This is an A5 sketchbook. These are big shapes, using a big brush, and look at how juicy that watercolor is. I'm using a lot of watercolor. Those are just base layers at the moment. Definitely that big leaf sort of pointing towards the top left-hand corner. I'm going to go back and do more on because it's not as vibrant as I would like it. Just doing my first layers and then I'll go back on top. And then I thought it was missing something. So I've got this pot plant was sat on a placemat, and it just gives a really nice opportunity to add some pattern. So that's something that I've kind of discovered myself, is that any opportunity to add some kind of pattern or texture like that into a drawing or a spread is really cool. It just makes it much more interesting to look at, but also, I don't know, there's just something, it's just a textural thing. You just want to rub your finger over that placemat or something. I don't know. It just really helps with adding a bit more visual depth to the overall thing. Also, what I really love is adding white over the top of things. So you can see here how much it really makes those leaves pop. So if you haven't tried a white pen or a white correction pen, which I use in a minute, on top of your drawings, do try that because it's really fun. As you can see with those leaves on that pot plant on the right hand side, I think it really brings the whole thing to life. Just adding a bit of splattering there as well, just to make it look a bit more fun. This brush is the square, one of the square ones. So there's a dagger brush, a square one, and then a smallish round one, and then a slightly larger round brush in this set, which I think is a really clever variety of brush heads. They've got loads of different sets, but they asked me to pick one actually. And I just thought that was the set that had the best, for my taste, that had the best brush selection. And then, so here we go. This is the white correction pen there with the blue body, just adding those really thick white lines, and a thick white line around the skull as well, which I think makes it stand forward quite nicely. And then just sort of working around, adding some more lines around things, especially where the paint may sort of obscured the ink, playing with some hatching lines. I'm not too sure about them, but I'm just playing, you know, I'm just adding some things. It's like, does that work? I'm not sure if that works. Using it as a learning experience. I'm totally fine if it doesn't come out exactly how I want it to, but at least, you know, I've tried something and it may or may not work. So yeah, I think the addition of the placemat, something so simple underneath that houseplant on the right-hand side there, really differentiates it from the style of the houseplant on the furthest right. So it just adds a bit more interest. Also painting that kind of greyish colour in the background, I think really helped. So this is my plant sketch from the original challenge back in January 2021. I really liked this sketch. It's one of my favourite ones, just because of the leaves and stuff, but definitely that houseplant on the left, the full houseplant, I really liked that. I thought that came out really well. But I did like how I did the leaves and stuff, and you can see I've still got the same pot plant container on the legs there on the top right. And I remember trying to draw that so carefully. Obviously I was drawing it larger than what I drew this time round. This time round, it's funny how I've let go like of the need to try and draw things absolutely perfectly, and it still works. It might look a bit looser or scrappier, but I think there's a confidence there and it still works. So it's a really interesting journey to go from a beginner who wants to draw everything absolutely perfectly to several years in where it's like, oh, I can draw this pretty loosely and I still know that it's going to like come out looking pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of the mental journey that I'm on at the moment. But yeah, so not my favourite spread that I've done so far, because I really did like day one and day two, but I do think it still looks good, and nonetheless, it was really fun to do. So I can't wait to see what you guys do for day three. Do feel free to tag me on Instagram. It's kind of the best way I can think of to see your sketches. So hopefully most of you are on Instagram, and use the hashtag 7DayUSK at home. And join me for day 4.